In this video, we are going to go over intelligent fixture effects. To demonstrate the effects, I am going to be using two fixtures. One is a color wheel lamp beam fixture. The other is a color mixing LED wash fixture. Intelligent fixture effects are different than the other lighting effects in that most of the work is done by the hardware. In other words, intelligent fixture effects are just exposing the capabilities of the fixture hardware in easy-to-use effects. Most fixtures will only support a subset of these effects. All but one of these effects are looking for specific fixture functions in the fixture profile. As we walk through these effects, we will identify the function requirements for the effect to be applicable. The first effect we are going to look at is the set position effect. The set position effect controls the pan and the tilt of the fixture. This effect requires functions with the pan and tilt tag. I have added the set position effect to my color mixing LED wash fixture. You can see the effect settings. There is a curve for the pan and a curve for the tilt. On the tilt effect settings, I have a curve that ramps up and then ramps back down. Let's see how that performs in both the preview and the hardware. I've added a similar curve to the pan so we can see how that performs. We can move the effect up to the group level and have it apply to both fixtures. Many of the basic lighting effects can be applied to fixtures. The set level and pulse effects are commonly used to control the color of the light beam. I have added a set level effect to the LED color mixing fixture. Here we have the pulse effect on the LED wash fixture. You can see the beam intensity ramp up. Here is the pulse effect on my color wheel fixture, noting that it's using a mechanical shutter to get the increasing intensity. The next effect we are going to look at is the zoom effect. This effect controls the zoom or focus of the light beam. This effect requires a function with a zoom tag. Here I have a set level effect to get the red color, and then below that the zoom effect that ramps from a big beam to a small focused beam. Here we see the zoom effect in action. My color wheel beam fixture does not support the zoom function. If we move the zoom effect up to that fixture, you'll notice that the timeline background does not render. This is an indication that the fixture does not support the effect. The next effect we are going to look at is the Gobo Effect. This effect selects the steel or glass plate that is placed in front of the light source to create a shape or pattern on the illuminated surface. This effect requires an index function with the Gobo tag. The Gobo effect has two drop-downs. The first drop-down selects the Gobo function. If your fixture had more than one Gobo wheel, this is where you would pick the desired wheel. The second drop-down selects the particular Gobo on the wheel. Here is the Gobo effect in action with the 7-dot pattern. Note the combination of being too close to the wall and trying to capture this on video degrades the pattern quality. Also note this is not an effect that is rendered in the preview at this time. The next effect we are going to look at is the Fixture Strobe Effect. This effect selects a strobing speed for the fixture. This effect requires a function with the shutter tag and a shutter index entry with the strobe tag. The Fixture Strobe Effect has two drop-downs. The first drop-down selects the function associated with the effect. The second drop-down selects the strobing setting. Some strobe settings may activate a strobe speed curve. In my case, I have selected strobing from slow to fast. Here is the Fixture Strobe Effect in action. The preview knows the fixture is strobing, but does not know the rate since that is hardware dependent, so the preview just flashes on and off. The next function we are going to look at is the Frost Effect. This effect selects a percentage to diffuse or soften the edges of the light beam. This effect requires a range function with the frost tag. The frost effect has two settings. The first is a drop-down to select the frost function. If your fixture had more than one frost function, this drop-down would let you pick the desired function. The second setting is a curve for the frost percentage. Here is the frost effect in action. Note this effect is not supported by the preview at this time. The next effect we're going to look at is the Prism Effect. This effect selects a prism to be placed in the light beam. Depending on the capabilities of the fixture, it also allows for controlling rotation speed of the prism. This effect requires an indexed function with a prism tag. The Prism Effect has a drop-down to select the prism function. It has a second drop-down for the prism setting and a curve to specify the prism rotation speed. Here is the Prism Effect in action. Note this effect is not supported by the preview. The next effect we are going to look at is the Spin Color Wheel effect. This effect spins the color wheel of the fixture. This effect requires a color wheel function with the Spin Color Wheel tag. It also requires color wheel entries that have the Use Curve option selected. The Spin Color Wheel effect has two drop-downs. The first drop-down selects the color wheel function. The second drop-down selects the spin setting. This is the list of color wheel items with the Use Curve option selected. The next curve configures the rotation speed. Finally, there is an intensity of the light beam curve. This curve defaults to full intensity. Here is the Spin Color Wheel effect in action. The preview knows the color wheel is spinning, but does not know the rate since that is hardware dependent, so it just cycles through the colors at a predefined rate. The last effect we're going to talk about is the Fixture Effect. The Fixture Effect is the catch-all effect for intelligent fixtures. This effect provides access to all the capabilities of the fixture. The user picks which fixture functions to include in the effect. The graphical representation of this effect on the sequence timeline is horizontal bars of color. Each fixture function is assigned a color. The Fixture Effect starts out empty. The Functions drop-down shows all the functions that are defined for your fixture. So I can select Pan and select Add, and it's now added the Pan function to the effect. And I can continue adding as many of these as I desire. If a function exists in your fixture profile, this effect is going to provide access to it. It's worth noting that for my color wheel beam fixture, I use this special functions function to turn on and turn off the lamp. I thought I would end the video by showing several of the effects in action together at the same time. Unfortunately, my webcam does not do justice to the Gobo pattern being displayed. The Vixen team hopes you find these fixture effects easy to use. Some of these effects make assumptions about how the functions are defined. If you encounter difficulties in this area, we would like to hear from you. Thank you.